Morning, everybody. I am going to be sharing with you a pancake recipe in a moment. Right now, I am already starting to cook some of it so that it will. I got to keep an eye on it here. But before I go into that, I wanted to talk about kind of what I teased you with in the email and what our overall theme is for today, which is what is your portion? Now, usually when we think of portion, we think of food. That's kind of one of the first things that comes in our culture, what comes to mind. But there is another meaning of the word as well. And I want to share a verse again today. And the verse is, "The Lord is my portion. I promise to keep your words." Psalm 119:57. Now, in this instance, literally, he is talking about another meaning of the word portion, which is an inheritance, a gift. That is the normal meaning of that passage. But for those of us that are maybe struggling a little bit with how we eat and overeating, like I have done on frequent occasions, when we think that, it's another way to not just think of it in terms of inheritance, but also in terms of he is what literally will fill me up. So it's kind of how much is enough. We get wrapped up lots of times in diets with portion control, and there is elements to that we don't necessarily need to eat as much as we do, and I've kind of talked about that in previous ones. True satisfaction, being filled up, actually comes from the Lord. It's not really a food issue, especially in Western culture, where we usually aren't exactly starving. Not that we don't need whole foods, but often we try to fill a hole that only God can fill. And that's what I want to challenge you today, is to remember where your true portion comes from and what can truly fill that hole and hunger inside, and ask God to fill you up. So that is my inspiration for today. Now I will go into the almond pancakes, but I need to check on the one on the stove here. Oh, good, it flipped. You never know. Sometimes they don't like to hold together. But today we are making some real basic almond pancakes. And I'm not going to measure out everything, but I will go through all the ingredients here. I used a tablespoon of coconut oil, which I obviously did not have to melt in the current temperature. It's already melted. In winter, you would need to liquefy. I've used a couple of free-range eggs, organic, a quarter of a cup of coconut milk, a little bit of stevia, 4 drops or so of stevia. This is a vanilla flavored one. If you want more vanilla, you can add that to it. And start out with that. You whisk it all together, and then you add in to that like 1/8 of a teaspoon, give or take, of Celtic Sea Salt, and 2 tablespoons of coconut flour. Now, one of the things you'll notice with coconut flour, it doesn't take much, is it absorbs liquids. It can thicken things up. It won't necessarily be a holding together, which is why you need the egg, but it will absorb moisture. So you do sometimes have to add more moisture or something that's going to have that effect to a recipe to keep it from getting too dried out when you're using very much coconut flour. But so in addition to the 2 tablespoons of the coconut flour, 1 tablespoon of almond flour, and finishing off with a 1/2 tablespoon of baking powder. And you mix this all up, usually using a whisk, very thoroughly. And you start, I have preheated a cast iron skillet. I like the cast iron skillets because they heat evenly and you don't have all that nonstick crap in the pan that you have to worry about, oh, just how many toxins am I taking in? You will get from cast iron, you will get some iron. I have iron deficiency, so that is not an issue for me. So I have cooked one side. Looks like it's pretty done. So let me pull out a plate to sit this on. And I'm using avocado oil in the bottom. And let me start another one going here. You don't want to make them super big, only, maybe this big around. The bigger they are, the harder it is to flip them, frankly. So in order to get them flipped over and not make a big mess and have them fall apart in the middle, you're better off sticking with small. And you're going to cook them in there until it starts to bubble. You'll start getting bubbles, and then you want to wait for them, the farthest in one basically, to be popped. When it's first creating bubbles, you only just put it in the pan. If you try to flip it, then it's going to be a disaster. It won't flip very well at all. But leave it in there a little longer. Let those little bubbles that are farther in pop. And then you will be at the right point to go and flip it over and then let it go about the same amount of time on the bottom. I'll try to see if you can move my thing so I can see the camera. So there's one pancake. And then I personally primarily would serve this with some butter and unsalted organic butter, and then maybe a few wild blueberries to add a little sweetness. There is a little sweetness from the stevia, but you don't need to slop on a whole bunch of syrup at this point. That will just give you way too many sugars to start your day. Hi, Kelly. Thank you for being on. And that's generally how it works. And it's bubbling over there, so it's close to when I'll be flipping that one. And you just keep doing that until you go through them all. You can put these inside of something or inside an oven to help keep them warm while you're actually prepping them. But that's pretty much it. It's not super complicated. And I hope you enjoyed the recipe and get a chance to make this in the near future. I will be back with another recipe and another verse next week, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.